In this lecture, you'll learn about how to monitor reports for the storage efficiency technologies. The actual space savings that you're going to achieve from deduplication, compression, and compaction depends on the characteristics of the workload that is in use on that particular volume or aggregate. For example, workloads with a lot of duplicate data will see large benefits from enabling deduplication. And workloads where files have a lot of redundant data will see large benefits from enabling compression. So I know that probably sounds really obvious, but this is why you can have completely different results for two different sets of workloads. So looking at some typical storage savings, and you can see this is for various different workloads here. If you look at geoseismic on the right, you can see that it is highly compressible. So you will get a lot of space savings if you enable compression on the volume that your geoseismic data is in, but there's typically a lot less duplicate data there, so deduplication is not going to have a huge effect. And then if we look at virtualization, when you're using virtualization, typically you're going to have a lot of virtual servers that are running the same operating system and the same applications on there. This is true if you're in a VDI environment as well. So in that case, there's a lot of duplicate data. So that's why you'll see that you'll get really good savings from deduplication there. Also, the data is highly compressible as well. So really, it just depends on the particular workload of how much space savings you're going to get from deduplication and compression. And you see here that this is showing it as a percentage. It can also be reported as a ratio as well. And that's how it's actually reported in System Manager. So here we're looking at an example in System Manager where from deduplication and compression, we're getting savings with a ratio of 6.11 to 1. Here, the logical space used is nearly 900 gigabytes. So as far as the client is concerned, they've got 900 gigabytes worth of data stored. But because we've got deduplication and compression enabled, that's actually only taking up 143 gigabytes on space. The way we've got the ratio is if you multiply 143 times 6.11, that will give you the 877 gigabytes. So it can either be expressed as a ratio or as a percentage. Depending on what report you're looking at, it will either be shown as one of those two options. If we have a look in ActiveIQ, so with ActiveIQ, your storage system is sending statistics to NetApp on a weekly basis. You can get reports on that by looking in ActiveIQ. In ActiveIQ, it also reports it as a ratio. Here you can see that we're achieving 16:1 ratio of storage efficiency. A command that is supported only on the AFF is storage aggregate show efficiency. The reason is that aggregate level deduplication is only supported on AFF systems, not on FAS. And you can see here that this is reported as a ratio as well. It gives us the overall ratio across the entire system, and that is also broken down into aggregate level storage efficiency and volume level storage efficiency. A command that you can use on both AFF and FAS systems is volume show, of course. When you enter the volume show command, that will give you statistics as a percentage on how much space savings you're getting from your deduplication and your compression. I'll show you that with a lab demo coming up soon. Okay, so that is how the actual reporting works. And now I want to talk about a consideration that can be important for storage service providers. So this is where there's a company and they've got storage and they're providing that as a service either to external customers or it's a private cloud environment where they're providing it to their own internal departments. And ONTAP reports space utilization at the physical level for both aggregates and volumes by default. For example, if 10 terabytes of logical data has been written to a volume, but this has been reduced to 2 terabytes, then 2 terabytes will be reported utilization. And this can cause confusion for customers, because let's say that they have got 2 different workloads that are using the storage service, and both workloads are using 10 terabytes of logical data. But because they're different workloads, we've got different characteristics, there's going to be a different amount of space savings achievable from deduplication and compression. So let's say that workload A gets reduced down to 5 terabytes worth of data, and workload B gets reduced down to 2 terabytes worth of data. Well, as far as the client sees, they've written 10 terabytes of data to both workloads, but workload A reports 5 terabytes, workload B reports 2 terabytes. And if you're billing them on that, then they're maybe going to ask a question, well, they're both 10 terabytes, how come one of them's being billed for 5 and one of them's being billed for 2? That doesn't make sense. That would confuse them, right? So it would be more logical if you just actually report the amount of logical space that is used. This is what the client is expecting anyway, because as far as they're concerned, they have written 10 terabytes worth of data. So it will be better if for both workloads, you report it as 10 terabytes of data. And also, this is what you want to be billing them on as well. You want to be billing them for the 10 terabytes rather than 5 or 2 terabytes if you're a storage service provider. So, as a storage service provider, you can report the logical utilization only rather than physical. And the way to do that is you enter a command at the command line. So you say volume modify and you say is space reporting logical true. So when you do that, it's only going to report on the logical utilization. It won't report the physical utilization showing the space savings. You can also enforce this as well. So let's say that you are the storage service provider and you've got a customer who has paid for 10 terabytes worth of storage. Well, if you're giving them actually 10 terabytes physical space and you've got storage efficiency enabled on there, then maybe they could write 30 or 40 terabytes worth of actual data to that storage. And because you're billing them for it, you want them to only get what they're actually paying for. You don't want them to be able to write 40 terabytes worth of logical data there. You want it to be limited to the 10 terabytes of logical data. Because you've got storage efficiency turned on, maybe it's actually only taking up 2 terabytes worth of physical space. But that's great. That's a benefit for you as the provider. Okay, so storage service providers can also enforce, as well as just report on, the logical size limitation while benefiting from the storage efficiencies. Error messages are generated when storage data reaches 95, 98%, and 100% of the logical space limits. You'll see that as the storage system administrator. So the way to actually enforce the limit is, again, with the volume modify command. And the option you want to enable here is space enforcement logical? So if you do the reporting then the customer can actually get more logical space than what they've paid for. But if you actually enforce it, then you as a service provider, again, you still get the actual space savings at the physical level. The customer can only use what we've paid for at the logical level. Thanks for watching. If you want to get hands-on practice with NetApp storage for free on your laptop, then you can download my free ebook, which you can see above my head right now. Also check out my NetApp Storage Complete course, which will teach you everything you could possibly want to know about ONTAP. Thanks.